Plant these 12 perennial crops once in October and harvest forever. Hello friends, and welcome back to Earthly Delights. If you've ever dreamed of stepping outside your door and finding fresh food waiting for you, without the constant cycle of replanting and reseeding, this video is for you. I know many of you watching are busy people. Some of you are new gardeners just learning where to begin. Others are longtime plant lovers who want to save time, protect your soil, and build a garden that feels less like work and more like joy. Maybe you're tired of spending every spring bent over seed trays, or maybe you've felt the sting of investing money into plants that vanish after one season. You're not alone. That's why today we're talking about something truly game-changing: perennial crops. These are plants you put into the ground once, and they reward you year after year with food, beauty, and abundance. Imagine a garden that practically takes care of itself while giving you harvest season after season. It's possible, and I'll show you how. So grab your notebook, settle in, and let's explore together the 12 perennial crops you can plant once this October and harvest forever. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss the gardening wisdom we share here on Earthly Delights. Part 1, preparing the ground in October, laying the foundation for perennial abundance. Now that we've set the stage, let's step into the heart of October, the perfect month to prepare your garden for perennials. Think of this moment as laying the foundation for a home. You only do it once, but it supports everything that comes after. The air is cooler, the soil still carries the warmth of summer, and nature itself is shifting into a time of rest. This is your golden window when perennial crops can quietly anchor their roots and be ready to burst with life when spring returns. Start by looking at your soil, because perennials are partners for years, not just a single season. Add rich compost, leaf mold, or well-aged manure now, while the ground is open to receive it. This is also the moment to correct soil pH if needed, because some of the crops you'll meet later, like blueberries, demand acidity to thrive. October is also when weeds slow down, giving you the upper hand to clear space once and for all before your perennials claim it. As you walk your garden, notice the sunlight patterns, the pockets of shade, and the areas where water lingers after rain. These microclimates will decide which plant belongs where. Some perennials stretch tall and need full sun, while others prefer dappled corners. By matching the right plant to the right place now, you'll save yourself years of frustration. So take this season as your chance to design wisely, enrich deeply, and give your soil the care it deserves. Because once your perennials are planted, the ground becomes sacred. Disturb it less, nurture it more, and it will reward you with harvest for a lifetime. Part 2, the 12 perennial crops you plant once and keep harvesting. Here's where the magic truly begins. You've prepared the soil, set the stage, and now it's time to meet the stars of your garden. The 12 perennial crops that will change the way you think about food and planting forever. Each one carries its own story, its own flavor, and its own gift for the gardener who dares to plant it this October. From hardy roots to leafy greens to fruiting shrubs, these plants will become lifelong companions in your backyard harvest. 1. Walking onions, the self-planting wonder. If there were ever a plant that seemed to have a mind of its own, it's the walking onion, also called the Egyptian onion. Unlike ordinary onions that finish their season and disappear, these curious perennials have a way of keeping themselves alive without your help. As the tall green stalks grow, they form little clusters of bulbs at the top. Over time, those bulbs get heavy, bend toward the ground, and root themselves, as if the plant is literally walking across your garden. It's a gardener's dream. Plant once, and the onions do the rest. Walking onions are hardy, thriving in cold winters and bouncing back with vigor each spring. Plant them in October, tucking the small bulbs into well-drained soil about 2 inches deep. They love full sun, but will tolerate partial shade. And once they settle in, you'll notice how little care they demand. A little water during dry spells, a bit of mulch for protection, and they'll reward you season after season. The beauty of walking onions is their versatility. You can snip the tender green tops like chives for a fresh, mild onion flavor, dig the underground bulbs for stronger taste, or harvest the top-set bulbs to eat or replant. Every part is edible, and every part ensures the cycle continues. For the busy gardener, the walking onion is more than food. It's a symbol of abundance, persistence, and the joy of watching nature take care of itself. 2. Chives, the flavorful garden companion. Chives may look delicate with their thin green blades and pretty purple flowers, but don't let their appearance fool you. These are tough, reliable perennials that come back stronger every year. For gardeners who crave both beauty and usefulness, chives are a perfect fit. They bring a gentle onion-like flavor to your kitchen while quietly working in your garden as pollinator magnets. When they bloom, bees and butterflies rush in, boosting the productivity of everything around them. Planting chives in October gives them time to establish before winter sets in. They prefer rich, well-drained soil and do best in full sun, though they'll handle partial shade without complaint. Space them about 8 inches apart and watch as they form neat clumps that return each spring. For those with limited space or city apartments, chives thrive just as happily in pots, making them a must-have for balconies, patios, or windowsills. Caring for chives couldn't be easier. Keep the soil lightly moist, and when they flower, you can choose to snip off the blossoms to encourage more leafy growth or leave them to feed pollinators. Harvesting is as simple as taking a pair of scissors and cutting a handful of leaves a couple inches above the soil. New shoots will sprout quickly, ensuring you always have a fresh supply. Whether sprinkled over scrambled eggs, stirred into soups, or frozen for later, chives offer endless ways to flavor your meals while making your garden more alive and abundant. 3. Sorrel, the zesty green that keeps giving. If you've ever wanted a leafy green that surprises your taste buds, sorrel is the one to grow. This hardy perennial delivers a bright, lemony flavor that adds a spark of freshness to soups, sauces, salads, and even smoothies. Unlike annual greens that fade after a season, sorrel faithfully returns each spring, ready to provide you with a steady harvest for years to come. For gardeners who crave variety and resilience, sorrel is a hidden gem. Plant sorrel in October so it can take root before winter arrives. It thrives in well-drained, compost-rich soil and enjoys full sun, though it also adapts well to partial shade. Space your plants about a foot apart, and you'll soon have a patch of greens that grows quickly and produces abundantly. Because sorrel is naturally resilient, pests and diseases rarely bother it, making it a reliable choice for both beginner and experienced gardeners. Caring for sorrel is almost effortless. Keep the soil moist during hot, dry spells and trim back flower stalks when they appear to keep the plant focused on leaf production. Harvest the outer leaves once they're about 4 to 6 inches long, and the plant will continue sending up new growth throughout the season. The flavor is tangy and refreshing, a perfect way to brighten up heavier meals. With sorrel in your garden, you'll always have a perennial green that not only nourishes your body, but also reminds you how simple and rewarding gardening can truly be. 4. Rhubarb, the bold and reliable spring classic. Few plants announce the arrival of spring as boldly as rhubarb. With its thick red stalks pushing through the soil while much of the garden still sleeps, rhubarb is a true perennial powerhouse. Once established, it can live and produce for a decade or more, making it a long-term investment in your garden's abundance. Gardeners love it not only for its vibrant color, but also for its versatility in the kitchen. Perfect for pies, jams, sauces, and even savory dishes that need a tangy twist. October is the perfect time to plant rhubarb crowns. Place them in fertile, well-drained soil about 3 feet apart, because this plant spreads generously as it matures. Rhubarb thrives in full sun, though it can tolerate partial shade, and appreciates soil enriched with plenty of compost. The first year requires patience. Avoid harvesting so the plant can focus on building strength. By the second or third year, you'll be rewarded with more stalks than you might ever expect. Caring for rhubarb is simple. Water during dry spells and mulch in the fall to protect the crowns through winter. When harvest time comes, always remember that only the stalks are edible. The leaves contain oxalic acid and should never be eaten. Harvest by pulling stalks cleanly from the base rather than cutting, which encourages new growth. With each passing season, rhubarb becomes more generous, offering not just food, but the joy of watching your garden come alive with one of nature's most dependable perennials. 5. Horseradish, the fiery root that never quits. Horseradish is the kind of perennial that seems almost unstoppable once it takes hold. Known for its bold, spicy flavor, this root crop adds a fiery kick to sauces, pickles, and traditional dishes. But beyond its taste, horseradish earns a spot in your garden because of how little care it demands. Plant it once, and it will reward you year after year, often spreading stronger and wider the longer it grows. For gardeners who want resilience with character, Horseradish is a must-have. October is the perfect month to start horseradish from root cuttings. Place them at a slight angle, about 2 inches deep and a foot apart, in loose, well-drained soil that gets plenty of sun. Once those roots take hold, horseradish becomes nearly indestructible. It tolerates poor soils, shrugs off pests, and keeps coming back without complaint. In fact, your biggest challenge won't be growing it. It will be containing it. Horseradish spreads vigorously, so many gardeners choose to dedicate a separate bed or even plant it in large containers to keep it in check. When harvest time arrives, usually in late fall, you'll dig up thick, white roots with a powerful aroma. Grate them fresh for homemade horseradish sauce, add them to pickling brines, or mix into dishes for an unforgettable bite. Any small root fragments you leave in the soil will regrow, ensuring next year's crop is already secured. With horseradish in your garden, you gain more than a spicy condiment. You gain a tough, enduring partner that reminds you of the strength and persistence hidden beneath the soil. 6. Jerusalem artichoke, the sun-loving tuber that keeps coming back. Also known as sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes are one of the most underrated perennial crops you can grow. At first glance, they look like towering sunflowers, reaching up to 10 feet tall with cheerful yellow blooms. But underground, they're quietly producing knobby, potato-like tubers that can be roasted, mashed, or even eaten raw for a crisp, nutty crunch. Once planted, they'll return every year without fail, making them a true set-it-and-forget-it crop for any gardener. October is the perfect time to tuck these tubers into the soil. Plant them 3 to 5 inches deep and about a foot apart in loose, well-drained ground, preferably in a sunny location. They're not fussy about soil quality and are remarkably tolerant of drought, which makes them a reliable choice for busy gardeners or those with challenging conditions. Just remember, they spread aggressively, so give them plenty of space or plant them along the edges of your garden where they can form a natural windbreak. Caring for Jerusalem artichokes couldn't be easier. Occasional watering during dry spells is usually all they need. Come late fall, wait until after the first frost to harvest, when their flavor turns sweeter and more complex. Any tubers left behind in the soil will simply sprout again next spring, ensuring a continuous supply without replanting. With their resilience, beauty, and abundance, Jerusalem artichokes remind us that some of the best crops are the ones that thrive quietly in the background, rewarding patience with generous harvests year after year. 7. Asparagus, the long-lived spring treasure. If there's one perennial that every serious gardener dreams of, it's asparagus. Unlike most vegetables that last a single season, asparagus crowns can keep producing tender spears for 15 to 20 years once established. Imagine planting just once and then harvesting crisp, green shoots every spring for decades. That's the kind of long-term payoff asparagus offers. It may require patience in the beginning, but the rewards are unmatched. October is a wonderful time to plant asparagus crowns, giving them the cool season to settle before winter. Dig a trench about 6 to 8 inches deep and wide enough to spread the roots comfortably. Place the crowns inside, cover them with just a couple inches of soil at first, then gradually fill in the trench as the plants grow. Space each crown about 18 inches apart because asparagus loves room to stretch. Full sun and well-drained soil are key to keeping them happy. During the first year, resist the urge to harvest. Let the feathery ferns grow tall, feeding the roots and building strength. By the second or third spring, you'll be able to cut tender spears that taste unlike anything from the grocery store. Care is simple. Keep the bedweed free, water in dry spells, and top with compost each spring. With just a little attention, asparagus becomes a steady companion, greeting you each spring with a harvest that signals the start of gardening season. Plant it once, and you'll enjoy its gifts for generations. 8. Globe artichoke, the sculptural beauty with delicious rewards. Few crops combine elegance and flavor quite like the globe artichoke. Standing tall with silvery green leaves and dramatic flower buds, it looks like a living sculpture in your garden. But these striking buds aren't just for show. They're edible treasures that can be steamed, roasted, or stuffed for gourmet meals right from your backyard. Plant a globe artichoke once, and it can continue to reward you for 5 years or more, making it both ornamental and practical. October is a smart time to plant globe artichokes, especially in milder climates where they can overwinter successfully. Choose a sunny spot with rich, well-drained soil, and give each plant at least 3 feet of space because they grow large and wide. If you garden in a cooler region, protect the crown with mulch or straw during harsh winters, and you'll see them bounce back each spring. With regular water and an annual boost of compost, they'll thrive and produce generously. In their second year and beyond, globe artichokes send up multiple buds that you can harvest while they're still tight and compact for the best flavor. If you allow some to bloom, they explode into massive purple thistles that attract pollinators and turn your garden into a showpiece. Whether you grow them for the taste, the beauty, or both, globe artichokes prove that a perennial can be as much about pleasure as it is about productivity. They stand tall as symbols of abundance, resilience, and artistry in any garden. 9. Blueberries. The sweet bush that lasts for decades. Blueberries are more than just a delicious snack. They're a perennial investment that can keep giving for decades. Once you plant them, these shrubs grow stronger and more abundant each year, eventually rewarding you with bowls of antioxidant-rich berries every summer. They're perfect for gardeners who want beauty as well as harvest, since their spring blossoms, summer fruit, and fiery fall foliage make them a four-season delight in the landscape. Planting blueberries in October allows their roots to settle before winter dormancy. The key to success lies in the soil. Blueberries thrive in acidic ground with a pH between 4.5 and 5.5. A mending with peat moss, pine needles, or sulfur can help achieve this. Choose a sunny location, space bushes about 4 to 5 feet apart, and plant at least 2 different varieties for cross-pollination. This ensures bigger yields and sweeter berries. Caring for blueberries is straightforward. Keep the soil consistently moist but not waterlogged, and mulch heavily with pine bark or wood chips to conserve moisture and keep weeds down. Each winter, prune away older wood to encourage fresh growth and maintain productivity. Come harvest time, you'll know they're ready when the berries turn a deep blue and slip easily from the stem. Whether eaten fresh by the handful, frozen for smoothies, or turned into pies and jams, blueberries bring joy year after year. Plant them once, and they'll become a centerpiece of your garden's abundance for generations. 10. Ramps, the wild gourmet treasure. Ramps, often called wild leeks or wild garlic, are one of those crops that feel like a secret gift from the forest. Beloved by chefs and food lovers, ramps carry a unique flavor, a bold mix of onion and garlic with a hint of sweetness. In early spring, when gardens are just waking up, ramps are among the first greens to appear, offering a burst of freshness when little else is ready to harvest. For the gardener, planting ramps means having a gourmet ingredient right at your fingertips each year. October is an excellent time to establish ramps, giving their bulbs time to root before winter. Unlike many crops, ramps thrive best in shaded areas with rich, humus-filled soil. Think of conditions similar to a forest floor. Tuck the bulbs a couple of inches deep and space them about 6 inches apart. Then cover with a layer of leaf mulch to mimic their natural woodland environment. They grow slowly, but with patience. They'll return faithfully every spring. Caring for ramps is simple once they're established. They prefer consistent moisture and protection from hot, direct sun. Because they grow slowly, it's important not to overharvest. Take only a few leaves or bulbs each season, leaving the rest to multiply. In time, your patch will expand, becoming a perennial supply of this rare delicacy. Whether you saute them, add them to soups, or use them raw in salads, ramps bring a wild, vibrant taste to your kitchen while connecting your garden to the rhythms of nature. 11. Lovage. The perennial celery with a bold twist, lovage is one of those plants that often surprises gardeners who try it for the first time. Tall, leafy, and fragrant, it carries a flavor that's like celery but richer and more intense. Perfect for soups, stews, and broths. What makes lovage truly special is its staying power. Once planted, this perennial herb can thrive for years, growing into an impressive clump that adds both beauty and utility to your garden. For anyone who wants a reliable, low-maintenance herb with a gourmet edge, lovage is a hidden treasure. October is the perfect month to plant lovage. Choose a sunny to partially shaded spot with fertile, well-drained soil, and space each plant about 18 inches apart. Because lovage can reach heights of 6 feet, it's best to give it a place where it won't overshadow smaller crops. Add compost when planting, and the roots will settle in comfortably before winter arrives, ready to surge with growth in spring. Caring for lovage is wonderfully simple. Keep the soil evenly moist, mulch around the base, and divide the clump every few years to keep it vigorous. In summer, lovage produces tall stems topped with clusters of yellow-green flowers that attract pollinators. Harvest the leaves throughout the season, snipping them fresh for cooking or drying them for later use. Even the stalks and seeds are edible, giving you multiple harvests from one plant. Lovage is more than just a herb. It's a long-term companion that quietly enriches your garden and your kitchen year after year. 12. Kernza, the perennial grain of the future. Kernza might not be a household name yet, but it's a revolutionary perennial grain that is reshaping the way we think about food crops. Developed from intermediate wheatgrass, Kernza is designed to be planted once and harvested for years, making it a game changer for gardeners who want to experiment with sustainable food systems. Unlike traditional grains that demand replanting every season, Kernza sends down deep roots that anchor the soil, improve its health, and reduce the need for constant tilling. For home gardeners, it's both an exciting crop to grow and a step toward future-forward gardening. October is an excellent time to sow Kernza seeds, giving them the cool season to establish strong root systems. It thrives in full sun and well-drained soil, and while it can be grown in regular garden beds, it also performs well as part of a larger, edible landscape or perennial meadow. Sow the seeds in rows or clusters, and with a little patience, you'll see it come back year after year. Caring for Kernza is straightforward. It needs occasional watering in dry spells and benefits from a layer of mulch or compost in spring. Harvest usually comes in late summer when the grain heads turn golden. Though the yield is smaller than annual wheat, Kernza provides the satisfaction of a sustainable harvest with far less work. Beyond the grain, its lush green growth also offers erosion control and habitat for beneficial insects. Planting Kernza isn't just about food. It's about cultivating resilience, both in your garden and in the soil beneath your feet. Part 3. Caring for your perennials, year after year. Now that you've met the 12 perennial crops, let's talk about how to care for them so they thrive for seasons to come. Planting is only the beginning. These crops are companions you'll live with for years, and just like any relationship, a little attention goes a long way. The beauty is that they don't need constant replanting, but they do need your steady guidance to reach their full potential. The first step is protecting them through their very first winter. After planting in October, cover the soil with mulch, straw, leaves, or wood chips. This blanket not only insulates the roots against the freeze and thaw cycles, but also feeds the soil as it breaks down. Come spring, your plants will push through stronger because of the care you gave them in the cold months. Each year, think of feeding your perennials not with harsh fertilizers, but with organic matter. Top dress with compost or leaf mold to give them the slow, steady nutrition they need. Unlike annuals, which burn through nutrients in a single season, perennials prefer this gentler, long-term support. Mulch again each year to conserve moisture, suppress weeds, and keep the soil life vibrant. Some of your crops will eventually need dividing or pruning. Chives, sorrel, and lovage benefit from being split every few years to keep them productive, while blueberries reward you if you prune out older wood each winter. Others, like horseradish and Jerusalem artichokes, may try to take over your garden, so set boundaries early and harvest generously to keep them in check. Caring for perennials isn't about control, it's about balance. Allow them space, nurture them with patience, and they will repay you with resilience and abundance. When you walk into your garden year after year and see these plants growing stronger, you'll feel the quiet joy of knowing you've built something lasting, something that keeps giving without demanding everything from you. This is where gardening becomes not just a task, but a partnership with time itself. Part 4, expanding toward a perennial food forest. Once you've cared for your first perennials and watched them return year after year, you'll start to see your garden differently. It's no longer just a collection of plants. It becomes a living system. This is where the idea of a perennial food forest comes in, a layered garden that mimics nature while feeding you in every season. It doesn't matter if you have a large backyard or a modest suburban plot, the principles remain the same. Think in layers, plan for diversity, and let time work with you instead of against you. Start with the tallest plants, fruiting shrubs like blueberries or the towering stalks of Jerusalem artichokes, and let them create structure and shade. Beneath them, you can place medium-height crops such as lovage or globe artichokes that fill the middle layer with foliage and flavor. Then add low-growing companions like chives, sorrel, or walking onions to carpet the soil and keep it alive. Each layer supports the others. The tall plants offer protection, the ground covers preserve moisture, and together they create a balanced ecosystem that thrives with less interference. As your confidence grows, you might even experiment with less common choices: ramps in a shaded corner, kernza in a sunny patch of open soil. Over time, these perennials knit together into a system that feels wild yet abundant, something between a cultivated garden and a natural meadow. This shift toward a food forest mindset also frees you as a gardener. You're no longer locked into endless cycles of sowing and replanting. Instead, you become a caretaker of something that matures year after year, giving more while asking less. It's the essence of abundance, a garden that provides food, beauty, and resilience, all because you planted wisely and allowed nature to do what it does best. Plant once, harvest forever. So here we are, at the end of our journey through the 12 perennial crops that can transform your garden. From the fiery bite of horseradish to the sweetness of blueberries, from the self-planting magic of walking onions to the elegance of globe artichokes, each plant brings something unique, something lasting. Together, they show us that gardening doesn't have to be an endless cycle of starting over. It can be a rhythm of continuity, a partnership with the land that deepens year after year. Imagine walking into your backyard in spring, summer, and fall, knowing that food is already waiting for you because of choices you made once, seasons ago. That's the true gift of perennials. They reward patience with abundance. They give back more than they take, and they remind us that sometimes the best work in the garden is done quietly, below the soil, where roots anchor themselves for the future. Now it's your turn to bring this vision to life. Which of these 12 perennials speaks to you most? Would you start with something classic like asparagus? Or are you tempted by the adventure of trying ramps or kernza? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your plans and your gardening dreams. And if you found inspiration in this video, don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights and tap the bell so you never miss a chance to grow smarter, not harder. Together, let's plant once, harvest forever, and build gardens that feed both our bodies and our spirits.